Raiders pulled off a pretty stunning, if you ask me, comeback win over the Steelers, 24-21 today. Really morale-boosting win for the Raiders. I know the 49ers won, so maybe it would have been better for those of you out there who want the Raiders to have the #1 pick. It would have been better if the Raiders lost, but now they sit at 3-10 along with the Cardinals and 49ers. Jerry, we'll start with Derek Carr. I think this is the best game we've both seen him play in a while. Really, really accurate. He's now gone 8 games without an interception. That's 261 throws. Some really, really nice throws there in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think we can all finally, hopefully, put to rest any speculation that John Gruden, being the impatient kind of person that people believe him to be with quarterbacks, would be looking for someone else. I mean, he's found his guy, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, Carr has grown, especially the last few weeks within the system. We're talking to Lee Smith after the game, and he's saying, look, Gruden's not getting more creative at all. We're just catching up to him, in terms of the offense that they run, and you can say that about Derek, too. The two are pretty much tied at the hip. Any success they're going to have in the future is going to be because of both of them together, and it's been that way since week 1.
Yes, since Carr got his $125 million contract, there have been very few times he's looked like a quarterback worthy of that pay. I definitely think today was one of those times. What I'll be writing about, and I thought this was interesting, the Raiders have a top 5 tight end in the league in Jerry Cook. Gruden made it clear today he's the team MVP, and I would agree with that. But Lee Smith and Derek Carr are two guys who have made a combined less than 10 catches this season, come up with big 4th down touchdowns. And Derek Carr, I was talking to him after the game, welcomed a newborn daughter on Tuesday. He's going to keep the ball, give it to her, but just a big day from the tight ends. What'd you see on the defensive end and your read of the Raiders when Josh Dobbs came in for Ben Roethlisberger? Kind of a strange situation, because Ben said after the game, I was just waiting for him to tell me to go back in. And Mike Tomlin said we thought he could have gone in sooner. It was kind of strange how the Steelers managed that, but what'd you think of just the Raiders' defense overall today?
Well, I mean, they did a good job choking off the run. I think it was like 40 yards on 21 carries, but that's not really what the Steelers do anyway. I mean, the Raiders say thanks, basically, because if Ben Roethlisberger plays that entire game, I don't see how they could have won, because Roethlisberger moved the ball at will, short, underneath throws, a few deeper ones, but he had little problem moving against the defense, and it was a completely different thing when Dobbs came in. So the amount of possessions that Roethlisberger missed gave the Raiders a chance, because the Raiders, for as well as Carr played, there were several possessions in there where they had enough mistakes, and a lot of them because of penalties, but they got in bad down and distance, and they didn't do enough. So, but the kind of thing, an injury with Roethlisberger, though, it happens in this league, and when you get a chance to beat a team, you've got to take advantage of it. And the Raiders had a chance today. They were in a situation, because of Roethlisberger's absence, where this is a game they should win. And that doesn't mean you're always going to win, but they did. That they were in that position, and they took advantage of it.
And I thought the Raiders did a nice job defending Antonio Brown, who I think is the best wide receiver in the league. Granted, Juju Smith-Schuster, the second-year guy at USC, went off well over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, and almost really gave the fans here and the Raiders a scare on his 48-yard lateral play that put the Steelers into field goal range. John Gruden said after the game, during that time, he was already thinking about how he was going to explain what went wrong on that play to us. But Antonio Brown, only 5 catches for 35 yards. Garyon Conley played on him a bunch today. John Gruden said, Garyon Conley has finally arrived, and at least from my eyes, I've covered his career, he's finally starting to look like a first-round pick, and I think that's a great sign for the Raiders looking forward, especially from a guy who was supposedly on the chopping block, or when I say chopping block, the trading block, not too long ago. So 3 more games this season. The Raiders travel to Cincinnati next week, then they host Denver on Christmas Eve, then travel to Kansas City, and you can make a case all 3 games are winnable games. The Broncos lost to the 49ers today, Bengals are terrible, and the Chiefs might be resting all their starters. So who knows what this Raiders season could end up as. Could have the same 6-10 record as they had last year, but we'll see you next weekend. For Matt Schneidman, Jerry McDonald, you guys have a great night.